Hey everyone, wanted to do a little bit of a different video today. I just got done giving myself a haircut, and as I was doing it, I was just tossing around some ideas in my head, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do this video. A lot of you are probably thinking, why would you want to cut your own hair? Well, there's quite a few different reasons. First of all, I'm cheap. A quick haircut used to be $10 plus tip, then it was $15, and in some places it's $20. And as you can see, I just go for the short cut over here. I'm not really into the style thing. So I figured, you know, at $20, which seemed a little bit much to me just to get my hair buzzed, I can go out and buy a set of clippers and do it myself. It's something I've always wanted to do, and frankly, when I lived with my parents before I met my wife, that's just something I really didn't do in their house because my mom would have threw a fit, honestly. But when I moved in here, my wife had no problem with it. You know, just take an old bed sheet, throw it over the sink in the bathroom, and away I go. So one day I got the gumption to do it, and I went and bought myself a set of clippers. And that's pretty much what the subject of this video is. The other thing is, I'm lazy. When I get up in the morning, I just want to take a shower and go. I don't want to sit there and style my hair up. So as you can see, again, it's just short. Plus, you know, when you get to this season where it's warm out, it's just a lot cooler. And I go between two styles. I need a haircut, and I just buzzed it, and this is what you get. So it's really quick and easy. It takes me 10 minutes. And for you guys out there who go to a barber and get your haircut, anytime they buzz the back of your neck and all the little hairs go down the back of your shirt, even when they put that little towel around you and you get the cloth on you, you still get itchy, especially if you go to like the mall to get a haircut or someplace like that. You end up walking around, you're all itchy and scratchy. This way I can cut my hair and go right into the shower and wash up, and you get all that hair off of you, and it feels much better. Plus, the other thing is well, you get the self-satisfaction in doing it yourself. Plus, if you mess up, who's to blame but yourself? You can't say, oh man, I spent 20 bucks on a haircut, it sucked. And you know, really, at the end of the day, if you're just buzzing your own hair, I mean, what difference does it make anyway? So with that, immediately after I got the idea to do this, quite a few years ago now, I ended up going to a store and picking up just a basic cheap hair cutter set. Now this says it's $39.99 retail, but you can see I got it for $9.99, and I used this maybe 2 or 3 times, and the damn thing broke on me. And we'll take a look at these more up close, and I can show you what happened with this. So then I decided to go out and buy a nicer set of clippers. This is what they actually use in a regular hair salon, and you can see they cost me $80. But if you figure if a haircut is 20 bucks a haircut, that's you know, 4 haircuts and it's paid for already. So you don't really, you know, need to spend obviously this much. You can go out and buy a cheaper one just to see if you like doing it, but after a while it's better just to get something nicer. And there's a huge difference between the more expensive clippers and the cheaper ones, and I'll definitely show you what those differences are in just a moment. But I've been doing this now for probably 10 years at least, and it's quick and easy. You know, you just turn it on, you just cut your hair. And I actually have a method, it's kind of funny. I take a mirror and I stand with a large mirror behind me, kind of like what's over here just off camera, and I can see the back of my head in the mirror through the reflection in the big mirror, and I can buzz the back of my neck, and well, it comes out pretty good. It's not a big deal. It'd be of course nice if my wife would do it for me, but she doesn't want to do it. She's afraid she would mess it up. I mean, you really can't mess up buzzing your hair. So it is what it is. I do it, like I said, it takes me 10 minutes and away I go. So with that, I'm going to take the camera, we're going to get over to the desk over here, and we'll take a look at these things up close, and you can really see why you would want to spend the more money on a better system. Now the first thing we're going to look at is the cheaper of the two, and this is a Benfini Salons 15-piece professional style clipper set. Professional style is key word. There really isn't anything professional to this. This is definitely what you want to call a home gamer set of clippers. The thing about this that is kind of nice is it comes with quite a bit of different accessories, and the more expensive Oster unit did not. So that's the thing. But when you combine the clipper and all the pieces here, and you considered it retailed originally, like I said, $39.99, and I bought it for $9.99. It makes you wonder how much of this value is in the clipper versus the entire set. So that's a thing to think about. But when you open this up, now this hasn't been used in a while because, well, it broke and I just kind of threw it in the storage area where I keep the other thing. You can see it has this nice roll set, and yeah, it does have everything in here. It does have the different clipper sizes, which you'll want for different length of hair. That's one thing I don't have that with the other set that this one does have. I'll show you actually what happened with this. You can see in here there is a set of cutters with some screws. Well, the actual clipper set, the little set broke off. This piece of metal here is so thin, there's barely any threads in here. So after a while, those screws end up working themselves loose, and the whole thing just ends up flying out on you. And it's been a while since I looked at this. In fact, frankly, I kind of just looked under the cabinet today when I went to grab the expensive set out, and I forgot I even had this. I thought I just chucked it. And that kind of was what gave me the reason to do this whole video. I said I have all this, I might as well do something with it. But this originally sat in here on this little pivot point, and this thing oscillates back and forth. And the clipper attachment clips up here. And just the way these two end up sliding back and forth against each other, that's basically the cutting mechanism. And you can adjust how deep the cut is by using this lever. But what ended up happening is these two, they move side by side, but because the way the screws are, they wanted to work a little bit. So you never really got an even haircut. And well, you can see what else is going on here. This plastic is sticky. This is actually like a rubbery coating. And you can see from my fingerprints on it, it is sticky and it stinks. And I know after a while this rubbery type of material does that, but that's not good. And I was kind of thrown for a loop when I took this out. I said, huh, that's kind of weird. I didn't think it would have did that, but it did. So I'm not even sure if this thing will still even work. I kind of just got frustrated with it, I believe, and just threw it all together. But you could see, yeah, there's those tiny screws. There's not much meat to them, so there really isn't good positive retention onto the actual clipper head. But yeah, that stuff's sticky. I mean, the rest of the kit's, it is what it is. It's got a little cleaning brush and a little thing for the back of your neck to get those little annoying hairs I mentioned off of you. But all the rest of this stuff, unfortunately, doesn't fit my new clipper. But it does have them. I mean, that's worth saying. But you'll see in a second here the difference in the quality of the plastic too. Well, at least I can see here in person. It may or may not come up on camera, but there is a difference. And, well, there really isn't much more to say about this whole set of stuff. I'm just going to grab a screwdriver real quick. We'll take a look inside of this guy and see what it looks like. Before I do that, I decided to plug it in real quick just so you can hear how this thing just buzzes like mad. And you can see it is going back and forth. Framery, the camera may or may not pick that up. See, it's just yeah, it's not a good instrument of use here. It's just not very reliable, and it vibrates the hell out of your hand, and you'll see why in a moment. Now inside this thing, you can see there's a rather large coil, and essentially what happens is since this is running on AC and there's a alternating current running through this thing, it's causing a magnetic field, and this arm over here is just basically vibrating back and forth. And that's why this thing really vibrates a lot in the hand. You can see there is a spring here which is forcing this arm over here to go in the outward position. And there's actually a little set screw over here that you can use to adjust just how much this thing works back and forth. And I should add, there's been numerous times that this thing actually ended up just getting like stuck in my hair. Like you'd be cutting it and just and it would just like get completely stuck, and you'd have to like turn the switch on and off for a second to kind of reset the motor. And fiddling around with this little adjustment here either causes this thing to vibrate a lot more in the hand, or really nothing else. Like it really didn't seem like the thing worked that well. And some of these things have different mechanisms. There's actually some that have little motors that spin, and there's a cam at the end, and the cam causes the head to go back and forth. And those are actually worse, because then you're relying on the rotational force of the little cam to get the blades to go, and it seems like those can stall out a lot more. These are stronger, but you know, just everything about the way this holds in the hand, and I'm glad I got a better unit. But just get another look at that. Now, if I want, I could actually, well, let's do it. Let's plug it in and take a chance here and see what happens when we turn this on. It's either going to blow up or we can watch it move. It's not even doing anything. It's just buzzing right now. Could be possibly because this is a little too tight. But either way, it's not really important to show all that. I just figured we'll show the guts of a cheapy unit, and then you'll see what a better one looks like. While I have this all apart, you can see here's a little adjustment mechanism. Now, there were 3 little screws here. You can see them lying around. There were 2 large screws in the back over here. That's these long guys right over here. But there was also a little tricky screw, and it was actually located under the panel over here. So that's what this top cover came off with, but I had to actually find out the hard way by removing this little funky rubbery thing. And you can just see that rubber is just rubbing right off of my finger. It's gross. So this is probably just definitely going to get chucked. I might save that big coil for something interesting, but other than that, I'm probably going to just chuck all this when I'm done with this video. And taking a look at the Oster unit, it mentions that it is a fast feed. This is true. You can cut the hair just as fast as you can run this thing through it. I mean, it really is a huge difference. And it mentions a powerful whisper quiet pivot motor. That's the same concept as the last clip we looked at, but it's a little different, as you'll see in a moment. They do have different size cutting heads for this, which is nice. It just came with the medium, but there are a fine, and this is the medium I think it came with. And that's really all the box shows you. The box is beat up because that's just what I stored in, so it does get its use, but you know, it's got nicer packaging, obviously. I mean, this is meant to you know, you're going to take this out the box and you're going to keep it on the desk in a you know, professional setting. But when I picked this up, it was more or less one of those things where I went to Sally Beauty Supply because I know that's where they sell these things. Someone recommended, you know, that's where you want to go check them out, see if they have that. And when I went in there, they had a couple different ones. Some went up in price, some were, you know, a little cheaper, but I knew I wanted something good. I've heard the Oster name before. Actually, I had a family friend who clipped dogs for a living. He did poodles, and all of his stuff was Oster. And he says, if you're going to get anything like that, get Oster, because that's what all the professionals use. So that's what I decided to do. And they were actually nice. Yeah, even though it was $79.99. They asked me if I had a Sally card, which I didn't. I'm not a professional. I wouldn't have any reason to have one of those. And they actually used the store card to give me a little bit of a break on it, which was pretty nice of them. Right off the bat, you can see it's got a nicer cord. The other one had this little chintzy wire. I'm not even going to bother bringing it back out again. But this is definitely a nicer cord. It's got a much better strain relief on it. It's got a place to clip to hang it, you know, like that's what's you're gonna see that at a professional location. It did only come with the 3 different sizes here. I tend to use the shorter, well, not the shorter, this is the shortest, but I tend to use this guy here. This is a 3/8 cut. Sometimes in the winter, I use the next size up over here. I would like to get, you know, more of these just to have different style. They have ones that are angled too for getting, you know, do fading and stuff like that. I just do a straight cut. I'm very simple. The one thing it had that I don't have, I do have to pick up more, is some of the lubricating oil. I do clean this all the time, so it's not an issue, you know, but you do want to oil this, and the other one too, that also came with it, but I do need to pick up on some of that. Eventually I'll pick that up. But you can see right off the bat, this one's a lot smaller. It's got a you know, power switch just like the other one, but I like this one better instead of the rocker switch, because it's right where you're going to hold it. You know, the other one was further down and then had that big fat head at the end of it. It still is adjustable, but you can see the quality of the metal here. You see how it's very shiny? It's a much better type of metal. The actual teeth in here are much finer. They're very sharp, and you can see the actual cutting head up here. It's ground very, very nicely. And if you want, you can actually get a little stone. It's more of like a round disc with it's a metal disc, and it's got lines cut in it, and you would just take the head and you would just, you know, lap it, just run it back and forth on it to sharpen it. But honestly, I haven't really needed to do that. This thing is still really sharp. It's made in the USA. Well, the blades are. Well, actually, everything's made in the USA. The other one was made in China, and, well, I know you're paying for the price of that. And it's rated at 12 watt. Now, curiously, I want to see what the other one's rated at. The other one's rated at 9 watts. Turns out I have to get it at anyway. But yeah, for household use only. This one, of course, does not say that because this is a commercial unit. Also, the texturing on this, it helps hold it in the hand a lot better. I don't think this is plastic. This feels more like that Bakelite material from back in the day. But you can see side by side. And weight-wise, too, this one's heavier. You can tell this has got a better mechanism inside than this does. All the weight is in the front of this. There's nothing in the back. It's all plastic. And since I mentioned the cords, you can see the difference here. Now, hopefully I can see this rating on here. This is a 2x18 American wire gauge. This one here, if I can read it, it looks like it says it's 16. Now, the higher the number, the smaller it is. No, I'm sorry, no, it is 18. So they both the same wire gauge, but this one has it's just a lot nicer. It's a lot more flexible. But that's neither here nor there, really. The important part's the guts. So I'm going to take this apart so we can see inside. Now, I have taken this one apart before many a time just to clean it up, but it does come apart pretty easily. So I'll go ahead and do that right now. And as you can probably see, this went together pretty easily. There's just 2 small screws and 2 large ones. The smaller of the 2 went up here in the front, which also held this little plate down. And then the larger ones went in the back, and then the whole lid came right off. Now, I'm sure it is just your standard plastic, but it sounds like it's a heavier, thicker plastic. In fact, it feels like a heavier, thicker plastic. You can just tell there's no flex in it. In fact, you can even see they have these little reinforcements in here to really help strengthen it. And that's something that we didn't see in the other one. Also, you can see how they oriented the power switch here. This is just a simple slide switch with a little arm on it to extend where it is. The bail, of course, comes off the little hanging hook. So we'll take these off. And it's a very simple device. You can see the power goes right up. The neutral here goes up to the coil. The hot goes down to this side of the switch, and then of course the other side of the switch connects to the other side of the coil. But the mechanism's right up here. So you can see the end of the coil here is actually making this arm up here move side by side. And I can't even move this up here at my fingers. The other one I could move it a lot easier. You can see I could barely make this move. But if you compare that, this one's sideways, so you can see it's even a smaller coil. Now, it has a higher power rating, so it makes me wonder if this coil is just densely packed more so than this one is. But you can see up here, this one is it's the combination of this spring and the oscillating coil up here that's moving this arm back and forth. This one here, the coil is making this whole mechanism move back and forth. And then of course you can see it's got this really nice cage just holding everything in place. So this one I will plug in like the other one, and it will work right away. You can see it's a lot quieter. This thing is just, it's going to go right ahead, and you can see how much movement there is in that. And like I said, I can't jam this. I've tried, cut my hair in as little time as possible one morning before work, and in like 5 minutes, I was in and out. I mean, it was really that easy. But just taking a good close look at that, you can see just how quickly that moves back and forth. And yeah, it still buzzes the hand, but a lot less. A lot less. You don't have that spring action in this thing causing this large mass of metal here moving back and forth. You only have this little piece up here. And I can take this apart a little bit further if we want to see inside here, but frankly, I don't really want to do that. There really isn't much to show in there. These 4 screws come right out, and there's just a little pivot up here, and it's really not much more to explain after that. I'll take this piece off though, so we can look in that side, but a lot better quality with this for sure. I mean, yeah, I know it's a lot more money, but if you pick this up at $39, $40, whatever the original retail price was, and you're picking this up for $80, look how long this lasted me. A couple hair cuttings. This one's been going strong for almost 10 years now. So, yeah, I don't use it every day. I'm not a professional barber, but I'm sure people out there who are watching this who are professional barbers or do these things for a living can vouch for the longevity of these items. Every place I've ever gotten a haircut at had an Oster cutter. So I'm going to go ahead and just quickly, we'll take this head off here. We'll take another look inside there and see what we can see. And here's the rest of it. You can see this one here, as I mentioned with the original one we looked at. It's still a little thin piece of metal, but the threads that they threaded the screws into are a lot better. There's a lot better retention. They're not much bigger, honestly, than the other ones were, but they are just a little bit longer, and that makes all the world of difference, believe it or not. I've actually never had this fall off while using it, unlike the other one. Still has the same adjustment. There's 2 more screws here that just basically releases this little metal clip, and there's this spongy material here. Now that prevents, you know, excess hair and just funk and everything to going inside this thing. The other one did not have that, as you can see, and that, you know, just keeps things nicer. But that's all really there is to it. This little tiny piece over here is what's moving back and forth and causing this blade to slide back and forth, basically. But, you know, minus the hair on here, you can see that's much nicer. In fact, I'm just gonna pull the other one out here. Here's the cheapy one. Here's the good one. You can see just the difference in the cutting head alone. There's a lot more teeth, and it's ground a lot sharper. This is, again, this is after multiple cuttings, and this is like the day I took it apart the first time. I mean, it's like brand new. I mean, really. And this just, all this is doing is just moving back and forth. But that's why, again, that's why you want to spend the better money on them. And so if you have one of these cheapy ones and you're wondering what the difference between a better one would be, that's pretty much what you're looking at. I mean, this one here, as mentioned with the spring, you can adjust the tension on here, and actually, just slightly off camera just a moment ago, I readjusted this so we can actually see that in motion. And you can see how it's, you know, oscillating back and forth, relying on that force of that coil here. But sometimes when you turn this thing on, it gets pretty loud. Well, this one here didn't have that problem. I'm just going to plug that in real quick and we can play with that. Now there are springs in here, I will mention that. There's a set facing over here and a set facing over here, and that's what's keeping this centered when you shut it off. So you are working against those springs, but because there's 2 of them, it's like counterbalanced, if that makes sense. So this is definitely hands down the way to go. If you're wondering, like I said, why you would want to pick up a better one, there's many different reasons why, but take it from somebody who's used both of them and got frustrated that, hey, I spent 10 bucks on this thing and it broke. I mean, you get what you pay for. Why would I expect it to last anything longer than a couple clippings? But if you want to do this frequently, get what the pros have. Just spend the extra bucks and you won't be sorry, trust me. Well, with that, guys, I want to thank you for watching. I'm going to get this all cleaned up and get put away. I do have some more tech videos coming up. I know the last few ones were just review things or oddball items like this, but I definitely have a lot of tech-related items sitting on the bench over here we're going to take a look at in the very near future. So with that, I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget to give a thumbs up and leave a comment below, and we'll see you guys next video.